Shocker! Tony Khan in the hospital, damaged. Will he make it back? We don't know. And the draft starts this week with WWE. Check it out on Wrestling with the Business.
Here we go. Episode 54, Wrestling with the Business podcast. Jeremy, Matt, and Dan ready to take you into another week. Before we get going, make sure you like and subscribe right here on our new YouTube channel, Wrestling with the Business. Make sure you also check out some of our clips on Instant Games TV in the meantime. But let's get ready. Big news this week. Shocker. AEW finally adding some story into their wrestling promotion. Tony Khan out. That's what I'm going to say. Out.
The hit finally came through. You hired Jack Perry to go after poor Tony Khan. It happened. You got your wish. So for those of you that didn't see, Dynamite went off the air on Wednesday night. A reunion. Jack Perry's triumphant return after, of course, Dynamite, him making his mystery appearance to ensure... Dynasty. Did I say dinosaur?
You said Dynamite.
In my head, I said dinosaur. Coming back on Dynasty to basically, push FTR out of the way to allow the Jackson brothers to win the title. Mm-hmm. And so now he comes out, gets a huge pop from the crowd at the beginning of the show, basically says something big's going to happen. And they close the show with Tony Khan and Jack Perry making amends. And then there's, kind of hard to call it a heel turn because he's already a heel and he's aligning himself with heels. But he basically double crosses Tony Khan, does a very bad punch to the stomach. Tony's really got to work on that.
The whole scene of that was bad.
And then the Jacksons come out and they do
selling. Yeah.
They do the premiere of what they call the TK driver, and Tony Khan is laid out. We're gonna throw a picture in there below if it's not already there of what exactly happened. Crowd loved it. I mean, Vince McMahon, Dixie Carter, Eric Bischoff. I mean, I'm always going to support somebody putting their boss through a table.
Well, they haven't done this yet. It's about time he got in the middle of
Scott D'Amore. Mm-hmm. I mean, Scott D'Amore took a powerbomb through a table that was flaming table at where was that? Bound for Glory.
Bound for Glory might have been.
It was one of the two.
Has Tony Khan ever had any type of wrestling moves put on him at all?
I don't think so.
Yeah. No, so he's finally. I mean, this is what's missing at AEW is this type of story connection where they're now integrating the actual boss of the company into some storylines. Where do they go from here? Is he out for a while? That's why I said the word out. Is he gone? Is he out? Is he gone?
I would say in storyline, this is a way for the heel elite to run the company.
And they sold it heavy. I mean, they had half the locker room emptied out. They had Shad Khan. Shad Khan. Sorry, excuse me. Shad Khan come out and make an appearance on screen, which was lighting up the IWC this week. I mean, they're gaining major steam. I mean, they're investing real time in them, unlike the Adam Cole, that whole heel situation, which really died off with MJF. We really haven't seen anything from that since World's End. So there's been a vacuum in story ever since MJF really left the company.
So you say shades of Eric Bischoff. Where do you think this is? What do you think this is following? Is there an example at WCW that this is following? I'm thinking of one in WWE.
Yeah. Eric Bischoff got put through a table off of a ramp,
off the stage. Yeah,
off the stage.
Before he joined NWO, he was selling it with the neck brace and everything.
But did he go away for a while?
It was Nash that did it.
It was for a few weeks. Yeah.
Wasn't it Nash that did it?
Yeah, it was Nash.
Yeah, it was Nash that
did it. I'm kind of getting the whole vibe of the
only reason why it made me think of Bischoff was because in the last couple of weeks, Bischoff has come after him like he always has, but Tony has actually responded and kind of been like, I don't know why Eric doesn't like us. I look up to him, and he has this podcast that just knocks on AEW all the time. So there's kind of a little... It just immediately made me think, head of the company, old head of WCW, everybody calls AEW the new WCW, and then now Tony Khan is being inserted into a storyline. So with a really big heel faction to get over. And this kind of provides a little bit better context for the CM Punk video. I mean, there's a little bit of, to me, it feels like a little bit of 4D chess.
I'm kind of getting the old McMahon Helmsley faction vibe, where the powers that be were out. I mean,
DX, you're talking about?
When DX took over and kind of was running the show and for a couple months and no one really.
They weren't really heels then, though.
But how much?
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, they were.
When Triple H and Stephanie were running things, absolutely they were.
That was more like authority, right? That was when they
did
were
that.
Like the authority.
They did it.
No, that wasn't way back in the '90s, where like.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking Attitude Era.
Yeah, when they had the McMahon Helmsley faction, and then Vince returned, but then Vince joined them. Like, I can see Tony Khan coming back, almost like Eric Bischoff with the NWO. I can almost see Tony Khan coming back in a couple months and joining this alliance. And it'll be like an evil.
It could be interesting. You could see an MJF.
Because the reality is, the character of Tony Khan has never really been developed. Am I wrong in that?
Yeah,
I mean, he's come out and make announcements and all that, but he doesn't.
He doesn't really have a character.
Like Vince McMahon was a character. There's Vince McMahon outside of wrestling, but there's also the story character of Vince McMahon.
Mr. McMahon.
Mr. McMahon. Yeah. We don't have that with Tony Khan yet, so maybe this is starting that.
I mean, I would love to see it. He is, despite his weakness and everything, he was not a sympathetic figure. I mean. They, like I said, it was a funny way. It basically made everybody happy. I mean, everybody that hates AEW wants to see Tony Khan have his head drilled through the mat. And everybody that loves AEW but isn't necessarily crazy about what they've been doing lately wants to see Tony Khan's head driven through. It's like 70% of, the internet wrestling community is going to be happy with this.
Well, I think someone decided that the Young Bucks needs to put the company on their shoulders for a while. And I mean, they're leaders out of the company. They're leaders in the locker room. They're leaders in the public eye. Let's put it on their shoulders now. Kenny Omega's out. Cody Rhodes is gone. Tony Khan is disliked. It's time to make them... whether they're a heel or not, it's time to make them a strong component of the organization. Yeah. And I think it's
on the camera. Yeah, I'm sure. Tony's
it's a swing in the right direction. I think
it is amazing what 9 months will do. I mean, I think we can pretty much all agree that the worst thing going last summer was Jack Perry's heel turn. Mm-hmm. That was the worst, most cringe, terrible thing. And now...
Has it been 9 months?
Since All In was last August.
All In was 8 months.
He was there.
And he turned heel a couple months before that. I mean, and since that, the scapegoat thing has taken off in NJPW, and he's come back, and he's getting pops from the crowd that he never got before. So something's working.
So Tony Khan was seen wearing a neck brace today during tapings. Do we think he's sell that at the draft?
Watch the draft. I mean, the
NFL draft.
The NFL.
We got to differentiate. There's two drafts this week.
The NFL did publish a brief story on their website about it.
By the way, can I just go on a little side note for a minute? Can we dismount how cheesy it is that WWE is doing their draft at the same time?
That's not cheesy. That makes perfect sense.
It's ridiculous. Do your own draft at a different time.
It makes perfect sense.
Oh, people are
it's draft season.
More people are going to watch our draft because the NFL is doing it. Give me a break.
No. It's because we're on the heels of WrestleMania.
I get that, but give it a couple weeks. Why are we doing it the same goddamn weekend as the NFL? Like, really?
Well, it's afterwards. I think technically the NFL's ends on Sunday or Monday.
The right way of doing it would be have the draft a week after WrestleMania. So there is no 4 weeks of none of this stuff really matters.
Yeah, maybe 2 weeks after. Yeah, I mean,
I'm sorry, Jeremy, but there's pinheads sitting in the back of creative at WWE. They're like, we're going to do the draft on the same week as an NFL draft, and we're going to do a killing with it.
The draft doesn't drive ratings. The draft.
Well, it's a storyline. Don't get me wrong, but
it is.
It's going to drive interest. But having on the same week as ESPN doing it for the NFL, move on. Give me a break. That's so stupid.
I don't think it's going to make any difference at all. I think it's totally.
Who?
The XFL doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, they're basically
USFL.
Yeah, they combined.
United Football
No,
League.
they're not going to draft at the same time because they're like an off season.
I don't think they draft at all.
I think their season runs. Doesn't their draft run like? Yeah, they draft. They draft from Canada, the Canadian Football League.
I think they can just pick up wherever they want, can't they?
I mean, whoever's considered a free agent or whatever on the market, as it were.
I didn't get into the NFL draft, so I'm going to go to the UFL draft.
That's exactly what happens. Or Canada. Yeah, they come from CFL.
All right, so that's our headlining topic for this episode. Make sure to check out throughout the week, though, our Ring the Bell, Falls Count Anywhere, and WWB Gauntlet, new champion in the house. Finally, So make sure you check that.
There's your belt.
Whatever.
The king is dead. Long live the king.
Make sure you check that out on our Instagram and social media channels. But with that, let's head into WWE in the news.
Who in the news?
WWB.
He said that.
I thought you said WWE.
Well, they sound so close.
Okay.
Wrestling with the business.
Wrestling with the business news. JoJo Offerman video controversy spills out into the internet and then melts it down.
Did you see it?
No, I didn't.
What was this controversy? I know nothing about it.
So it was like, I can't remember.
JoJo Offerman is the former...
A little bit of context. JoJo Offerman is the widowed fiance,
that's right. Okay.
of Bray Wyatt. And so he died last summer, August time frame. And maybe six or 8 months ago, something like that. And Liv Morgan, I believe, who's been sticking her nose in all kinds of places lately. Yeah, well, she's been getting a push, too. Yeah, of course, she got arrested in Florida a month or so ago, and since then she's been getting a big push the last 6 or 8 months or so. And she posted a video of her, I don't know if they're in the back of like an SUV or if Liv Morgan was recording herself on her phone while driving, but basically you can see JoJo behind her, and she's dancing pretty erratically and sticking her head, leaning and sticking her head out the window, and they're driving and they're having fun. And so there's been some internet criticism of that look of basically like, I think the original...
She's out having fun?
I think the original post was like,
Or that she's on something.
Right. The post was basically like, Bray Wyatt died 6 months ago. And this is the next, she was pretty quiet. I mean, the whole situation was very quiet. We want our privacy. Thank you very much. All that kind of thing. He wasn't in the Hall of Fame, so there really hasn't been any like public appearances or real statements or anything like that. This is basically the first thing to come out since, your husband or fiance, died or whatever, father of your, I think they have 3 or 4 children. So, it split a lot. Liv Morgan was like, oh, what? So she can't have any fun? And then a bunch of other people were like, well, yeah, but this still doesn't look good. Like, would you want your mom doing this? Is this how you want? So, yeah, it kind of split the internet in half supportive and half not supportive. And
there's an argument. Maybe she's getting out and doing something. Maybe she's been tied up inside for 6 months. Obviously.
Yeah, I can't imagine what she's going through, but I don't know. But it doesn't. Overall, it just doesn't look good. I don't think.
Right.
It doesn't. Again, would you want your mom doing that? Probably not. So.
Interesting. AEW have been stacking Rampage with Collision, and the results seem to be pretty good. 35% increase in viewers and 62% increase in demo.
Yeah, they've been recording it and showing it live, and the numbers are way better than their Friday night spot. Obviously, Friday night at like 10
So they're doing them at the same time.
They're literally recording them and airing them live on Saturday night. And people are hanging around, I think.
So now it's still airing at 10 o'clock, but it's on Saturday
and
instead
it's
of Friday.
on the heels
of Collision.
A bigger show. So whereas you got Collision that's maybe doing between 550 or so, you've got like 450 to 500 that are hanging around.
So after they do Collision, they're taping Rampage, basically.
Well, they're taping and airing. They're showing Rampage live.
Because
Collision is live, and so is Dynamite.
Oh,
so
that
they're
makes
basically
sense.
the NBA has bumped them basically.
So Rampage is at 11 o'clock now.
How's 10 to 11.
Collision's 8 to 10.
Oh, 8. Okay, I'm thinking Collision was 8 or 10.
So they basically just moved it from Friday to Saturday and put it on the tail of Collision.
Oh, well, okay.
And it's doing.
So no more pre-recorded shows.
No,
At
it's
least
only because
during
the
the
NBA.
playoffs.
Yeah, the NBA screws them up.
But
so
if
that's
they
why
keep
they've done
doing
it.
good, maybe they'll keep it this way.
That's the idea. There's been talk for a couple of weeks that they're experimenting on a 3-hour show to see if it could actually hold up. So.
WWE news, a lot of releases this week, most notably Jinder Mahal, who just had a segment with The Rock not just too long ago. And quite frankly...
Day 1, January 1st.
Yeah, and quite frankly, had a title match right after that. Was in the title picture for a while, and out the door he goes. A lot of these other ones really not. Cameron Grimes. Veer Mahal, Von Magler. I hate
Von
that.
Wagner.
I'm done with the name. So, not really... They're not all that notable.
Cameron Grimes lit a fire on the internet this week.
That's why they were released, though. They were all brought up to the main roster during the McMahon time. They had start and stop pushes multiple times, and over the last 5 years, they really did nothing. So
except for Jinder Mahal.
Except for Jinder. He's the only one that had anything recently.
They didn't really get anything.
So,
Cameron Grimes posted a very emotional, heartfelt video on the internet.
Sort of like Drake Maverick a few years ago, and then he was brought back. I'm wondering if he's thinking that's the same thing's going to happen with him.
He's the kind of guy I think could do well at an AEW.
He did really well in TNA
or
years
TNA.
ago.
Yep, he did really well in TNA.
That's where he made his name.
But he's another, Mid-South type guy that has a presence there. I think he could do well in an AEW. So it'd be cool to see him.
Who shows up at AEW?
Of that list?
Cameron Grimes. I don't see Jinder Mahal going over there.
Well, I mean, the rumor is because of his Twitter spat with Tony Khan that maybe he will show up there, but
I think he'd do better at TNA. I think, but
TNA, that's a good fit for him.
He'd do better at TNA. Yeah, it's a little less crowded, and
I'm not shocked at any of these. I mean, this is just cleaning up the roster as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and I think they're getting ready for
the contracts.
They're getting ready for some potential new signs that might be able to come on and stuff.
And contract renewals. With
there's been
Becky.
Britt Baker has been very vocal about not being particularly happy at AEW lately. Is it a work or is it a shoot? I don't know. But, I think that I've read multiple reports that WWE is showing interest in her and a couple other people on the AEW roster. So
I don't see...
I'll have to see what happens.
I don't see her doing anything of note in WWE.
WWE Speed Tournament continues. Ricochet is now in the finals. Now we have Reed versus Gargano coming up this week. How you been watching that?
I've been keeping up on it, yeah. The matches have been pretty good. It's exactly what you expect. They really can't, in my opinion, give it to a guy like Bronson Reed. So it's going to have to be Johnny Gargano versus Ricochet, and I think they're going to give it to Ricochet.
And those are two classic guys that should be on that type of show, in my opinion. Those are perfect content superstars to do.
Yeah, and listen, huge credit to Bronson Reed because they've asked him to step out of his comfort zone multiple times in the last, let's say, 6 to 9 months, and he's stepped up and he's done it. I mean, I give him all the credit in the world. They've really put a big man in a lot of little man situations, and he's stepped up and had some great matches, even on the mid card on Raw and stuff in the last couple of months. And
they've been getting some solid viewership.
Yeah, I haven't actually looked at the numbers. As crazy as that sounds, I haven't. But yeah, it's going.
I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's still.
It's a great another platform. It's a great another way to extend the content into a different platform.
I'll restate what I said before.
Utilize Twitter and utilize X or whatever you want to call it.
They need to get it off the live show and they need to put it in a studio so they can do some fun stuff with it.
Right.
They need to record everything in like a day. Get like a whole tournament done in a day and then just slowly let it trickle out and let people travel, because I feel like they could do some really cool theatrical stuff, and it would be a really great way to kind of distinguish the Speed Championship from everything else.
This last week's Speed had about 2.1 million viewers as of today.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Finally, the McMahon plan is taking shape after months of waiting. Files a motion to directly go to arbitration. So clearly he's trying to work out a deal and get this under the rug and done.
Yeah, basically he's like, look, the NDA is a legitimate thing, and here it says that we're going to go to an arbitrator, so let's just go straight to arbitration.
And they filed a motion to, I think they filed something on their own, I read.
Typically you file
to strike it down.
Yeah, typically when you file to go straight to arbitration in a situation like this, it's because you as defense feel like the evidence itself is too prejudiciary. I don't even know if that's a word, but like it's just too scandalous and it will prejudice anybody that sees it against yourself. So you're trying to work around it. The problem with that is, as if you watched any of my series, the whole
13 parts of it.
The whole thing that triggered this was that he wasn't
exclusive.
The whole thing that triggered this was that he wasn't keeping up his end of the bargain as far as payments are concerned. So you can't not pay the $1 million a year that you owe her and then go, but it's legitimate and we need to go to arbitration. So I don't think it's going to work. I think the judge is going to shoot it right down almost immediately.
Well, he still has to go buy TNA, so he wants that over with as soon as possible.
It seems more like a delay tactic to me.
That still makes me laugh every time, the 13-part series.
You wouldn't be laughing if you watched it, Dan.
I watched it.
I've gotten multiple comments. Mostly a mix of positive and negative.
I'm finishing up the news real quick. London mayor trying to get a lot of the top sporting events into their city as an attempt to get reelected, it looks like. And he referenced WrestleMania, in which Triple H came back and said, let's talk.
He said, if I'm reelected, so his reelection bid is partially based on WWE WrestleMania coming to London. The most interesting thing for me is, WWE typically has pretty egregious blackout periods as far as competition is concerned. So is London going to have to sign an agreement that says for 6 months you won't have any other wrestling promotions inside your city? Because that could really screw with All In. Could be a way to put a thumb in the eye of Tony Khan and the rest of them.
I would not be surprised in the next 5 years we see it there.
Oh, it's going to be international 100%. You're going to see Big Four shows go international.
Even though we just reported last week that Nick Khan said all the Big Four shows were just going to be in North America.
It does kind of, fly in the face of what Nick Khan just said. So, I don't know.
And The Undertaker making some news this week. First off, signing a new Legends contract. No details released on that, but apparently it was signed right around WrestleMania. But he also made some comments that the women's division should have their own second-tier belts, such as like a women's Intercontinental or a women's U.S. Championship. I don't necessarily think that's a bad idea. I think there's enough women on the roster to justify maybe one
not
second-tier belt. I mean, maybe not two, but at least one.
Well, you kind of have to have one for each brand, don't you?
No, I mean, if we're playing the brand card and we're actually going to follow that, then yes, you would need two. But
that's what they've done with the men's titles.
Yeah.
USA has been SmackDown, and the IC has been Raw. No reason why they wouldn't do the same.
See, I would flip them.
I don't think it makes a difference. What difference?
But I think it does. I mean, instead of having a men's world champion and then the women's world champion, like let's spice up the title, on each show. Make it all different belts on each show, not two of the same, all the way. I mean, that's what I feel. I mean, I would say switch them up so they're opposite of the men's.
It does seem kind of like, why don't you just call it the Raw United States Championship and the SmackDown United States Championship? I mean, if you're going to be that strict with it. If you're going to be that strict with it, what difference? Who cares what it's called? Undisputed this, Universal that. It's like, at the
everyone
end of
has
the day,
a belt these days.
Yeah.
That's actually one I feel like makes sense. The women could use a second-tier belt.
What about the women's tag titles?
Get rid of. There's two of them, right?
No, there's just one.
They used to have two.
They unified the NXT.
They unified the NXT.
So there's no NXT or women's tag belts. It's just one. So for all three brands, there's one women's tag team championship.
Yeah, it should just be one.
Yeah, I don't think, and there certainly aren't enough women's tag teams. Like women's tag
they're all
teams
Franken teams.
don't
they
exist.
always have been. Yeah.
So I mean, you could put together like something from like a stable, maybe. Because right now it's
Kabuki Warriors.
It's the Warriors, that have it.
Yeah. Oh well.
Everything's the same now as it was like in 2021 title wise.
Mm-hmm.
And real quick, just to bring up, Finn Balor is looking to stay with WWE. He had some comments where his apparently WWE offered him a huge multi-million-dollar contract, and it's reported that AEW, that's one of the ones they're looking to sign. And I guess Finn posted something on social media that he's right now is the right time to say, I found the place I want to be, and I want to stay there for basically the rest of his career. So sounds like Finn Balor won't be leaving. So apparently he's one of the ones on the block this year for a contract.
He has not been wrestling very much. So if he can make that
money,
he's
older. I mean, he is an older talent. He's got to be. He's got to be 37, 40.
No.
Screw you, 40's older.
Look it up. I know. He certainly isn't 40. He's not LA Knight type age.
No way.
42.
Yeah.
No.
42.
42.
I told you he's older. Yeah, 42. So he's not. I mean,
that is wild.
So this is probably gonna be his last major contract, if I had to guess.
Yeah, probably 5 years.
And he'll slowly start developing other talent and taking the falls and like he's doing now. I think he's really.
I cannot believe he's that old. That's insane.
I mean, he's the one really perking up Damian right now, helping him elevate him to a top spot. So, but looks like he's gonna be staying there. So. All right, that's Wrestling with the Business news. Make sure you comment down below. Let us know if there's any topics on your mind in the world of wrestling and also in the news. And then we got some mid-card action now.
Gentlemen, we have a new Women's World Championship 2 weeks after her really easy,
decisive,
by WrestleMania standards, certainly. This was a decisive win over Becky Lynch. Unfortunately, on Monday night, the great Rhea Ripley had to come out, injured arm. Last week she had to come out, injured arm, tell everybody she had to vacate the championship. And then there was basically a number one contenders match between the best, not for the number one contenders, but the best women. It was Liv Morgan versus Becky Lynch. And Becky Lynch was crowned champion after her
No, it was a battle royal.
I'm sorry, you're right again. It was a battle royal.
Liv
Morgan was the last
final
one
two, yeah.
with her, which said two things to me. One, what does that do to the championship? Like, how weak does that? We were all talking about having to vacate the title to begin with, making it look secondary to Bayley. Now you've got the woman that got handily defeated just a couple of weeks ago at WrestleMania. Taking
Why would
over.
her giving up make it look secondary? If she can't perform, she gotta give it up.
Well, what we were saying is what elevated it before was the fact that Rhea Ripley held it.
Oh, for sure.
Now that Rhea Ripley doesn't hold it anymore, Bayley takes over. That was our conversation before. But now you're giving it to a person that got...
She couldn't beat the champ, but she could beat everybody else.
I mean, she couldn't even come close to the champ, though. It wasn't like, I mean, like I said, That was a very decisive match, in my opinion. They didn't even try to oversell it. It was clear that they were angling Becky for a break. And she had to come back because Rhea got injured, which is almost inevitable in the business when Rhea held the belt for a year, more than a year, right? She won it at WrestleMania. So,
I mean, I think this was their only move. I mean,
why couldn't you give it to Liv Morgan?
Yeah,
Liv Morgan has come in.
That's what I was expecting.
Liv Morgan has been runner-up 4 times in a row. She was second in the Royal Rumble 2 years in a row.
They need someone big to hold the belt. I really think that's what I mean.
They were angling Liv to be Rhea's next challenger, though.
Too quick. She's not ready.
She's ready.
Well, you guys may think that, but clearly the powers that be don't think that. I mean, they clearly think that she's not ready to take that belt.
That's what we're talking about, is what we think.
Right. But, I mean, that's why I don't think that's why they didn't give it to her. They don't think she's ready. I mean, I think that is the clear...
I think they didn't give it to her because they want to angle her for a heel.
Perhaps, and I think they need star power.
This is basically,
There's a lot of... We talked about this last week. There's a lot of people out right now. And they need some star power.
I don't think you have to. Lean into it. Move the belt around. Experiment.
You would think they would do that for sure, but clearly they're worried about... I mean, the only thing that makes sense to me is for them to take Becky Lynch, who was supposed to be on a 2-month break with her hubby Seth freaking Rollins, and all of a sudden bring her back. Clearly they said, we need some star power to have this belt. Maybe this is an opportunity to give Becky that belt. She's never had it before. Maybe it's an opportunity that she's a women's world champion until Rhea comes back. I mean, look, no one's taking it from Rhea. She deserves the belt. We all talked about this. She's been one of the most dominant female wrestlers in the last couple of years, I personally think. And I think this is an opportunity. Hey, let's give Becky that belt for now. Let her have it so she can put it on her resume, her career stats, and then when Rhea comes back, they don't have to worry about that problem.
I think they could do a little bit of work over the next couple of months, and you could give it to Jade Cargill.
Well, for sure.
She could hold the belt. They really just need to do story work. I mean, she already has the reputation, I think, and the name to take it.
I don't think this is going to be a long title run for Becky Lynch. I think it's an opportunity to say that she's been the world champion.
That kind of goes to what I am about to say because, she wasn't going to get this break just 'cause. This wasn't like, oh, hey, I just kind of feel like being out for a while. Like, she's been active on the roster working for a long time. The longer you work, the greater the injury risk.
Who are we talking about?
Becky Lynch.
Oh, yeah.
The longer you work, the greater the risk of injury. And when you hold the title, you have to defend the title, especially when you're defending the title that week in, week out, all the time, right? That was the title that was going to be sold to be defended all the time, everywhere, no matter what. This is a working man's title, blah, 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 blah. So if you're going to hold that belt, you're going to have to work it. I think the risk of injury for Becky Lynch just went through the roof, I think.
If she's not going to have it long, though, why give it to her at all?
So she can
just
put
to
it,
check the box.
just to check the box. She's had the women's world title, but you know what? You can say I do think WWE cares about that.
There's a risk. I think
that is that builds up her resume as a wrestler. That she's a former world heavyweight champion, I mean, it's a way of giving her the belt.
They should have Liv Morgan. I would rather they have Liv Morgan cheat and win the belt,
right?
And let Becky take her break.
I feel like giving Becky the title just as a transitional champion, yeah, she checks the box, but that doesn't make her look good.
That's what makes me think that they're not behind any of the other wrestlers right now. They're saying that we need a top star to hold the belt right now. I mean, they're missing a lot of people right now.
They should. Liv Morgan can carry the
I mean,
belt.
let's be honest. Their top two,
if
maybe
they have
maybe
Damian
Bayley.
Priest carrying the other belt.
I mean, their top two is Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley, and they're both out.
Liv Morgan can carry that belt for sure, 100%. You think about, I mean, Io Sky. I mean, think about all the other champions. I mean, Liv Morgan can carry the belt.
Maybe they have a future plan for her.
Asuka.
Team her up with Piper Niven as her heavy or something. And
if you have to,
if you have to.
Put her at a heel angle or something. I mean, they're clearly angling for that would be great. She finishes second a gajillion times in a row, then she cheats and she wins, heel turn, and
maybe
she can hold.
This is a way of bringing back Alexa Bliss and having her win the title.
Maybe Alexa would come back totally face, so it would make sense to give it to a heel if you're going to do that. And that way you don't have to have Alexa Bliss beat Becky Lynch to win the title. You can have her beat Liv Morgan, which makes more sense. So, anyways, their back was against the wall. They had a couple of days to make a decision. I think they could have done it better. I think they could have done it worse. I mean, it was okay. I just didn't think it was great. All right. So there have been some pretty significant shakeups considering we haven't even gotten to the draft yet. So I had to get your feedback on this. So not only have they, since WrestleMania, turned Chad Gable heel, but they basically had the entire Alpha Academy faction come with him. You'll stand behind me no matter what. What do we think about that? Alpha Academy slowly turning heel? What are we doing here? Good, bad? I mean, I think I will tell you this. The IWC seems to like the heel turn.
Really?
They seem excited at the potential.
I thought there was some hesitation on Otis' behalf.
There was, I mean, I don't know how any of them, except for, okay, Akira Tozawa is heel now.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of my response is like, who kind of gives a crap? I don't know. But they're trying to shake stuff up before the draft. What about the Imperium? Imperium broke up.
That sucks. That sucks. They should never break up Imperium.
It's an
awesome group.
They were a great, pure heel faction. None of this tweener Judgment Day stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're going to start bringing them down solo roads.
Totally unmotivated, in my opinion. No good story behind it at all.
They need people right now. The problem is they need people on shows right now. They got to start dividing. They have a lot of factions. And they got to start deciding which ones are they going to move forward and which ones it's time to break up. You can't have all these factions.
Vinci
on every
isn't
show.
much of a singles guy. He's good in a tag team.
And that's what they did. They split him off.
Well, how long have they been together?
Since
they came
NXT UK?
Yeah, since they came in with
20,
Gunther. They were a package deal. They got drafted
2018,
together.
2017.
Maybe it's time. I mean, look at Jay and Jimmy. No one ever thought they'd break up, and they're gone.
They're great. They are excellent together.
Yeah. Again, they're better together than they are apart.
Trick Williams has won the NXT World Championship from Ilya Dragunov. Ilya Dragunov. I'm never going to get his name right. He drops the title. He was very over in NXT. If you don't think he's going to get drafted, I have a bridge in Brooklyn to sell you. The only question is, where does he go?
If he doesn't join Imperium, he has to feud with Gunther on the main roster because their matches are incredible.
Yeah, he can make anybody look good. He's a very good wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
He is very good. He's one of those homegrown. A lot of, I mean, I haven't seen this much noise on the internet over Trick Williams' win. A lot of people loving Trick Williams going over big time. Hey, I don't know if you've been watching the product the last couple of weeks, but Sheamus is back.
If you notice, I was laughing a couple minutes ago when you were finishing up the Becky Lynch story. I look down below and I see Sheamus is fat. I just started laughing.
And as as Mr. McIntyre said this week, burger after burger after burger after burger. Fat Sheamus doing a Always Sunny in Philadelphia thing here. Are we going to see like a Hearts on Fire montage with him
going on here.
With him power cleaning a wagon and doing pull-ups in a barn?
I saw a clip and I went, holy shit.
He looked so good a couple years ago when he came back.
Mm-hmm.
He looks. Remember he did that internet show where he would interview people in the weight room.
He's the one who led to Edge coming back.
I mean, he looked so good. He was so jacked.
Okay, I don't know. One of the things that I read was that he wasn't really ready to. He wasn't planning on coming back this early, so he wasn't planning. I want to say, geez, he's got about 5 months of training to get back to the size he was.
I mean, he is 90 days of serious dieting and serious.
But how old is he? He's done
40.
Yeah, he's in his. 40s.
I mean,
he's around Randy Orton's age.
We're at the point now where I've seen this with some wrestlers in the past. They don't care. They're done.
I don't know. He could still have fun like R-Truth.
I also think when you're packing
Orton.
on some weight, you can absorb the hits better.
I do like how
Kevin Owens is never getting injured because he can carry that weight. That weight is like it's a cushion for them when they land. Like that helps.
I do like how he kind of leaned into it. Like when he comes out, he's in his briefs and he's got his knee pads. He's not coming out in sweatpants and his shirt or anything. He's like leaning into the fact that he's fat. He's like, that's kind of what makes me feel like it's R-Truthy. Like he's kind of leaning into it. He's not really. He's saying yes.
He doesn't have much of a choice. That's what he's.
Well, listen, when you're that big and you lean forward, there's risk. Okay, so hey, AJ Styles is now the #1 contender for the Undisputed Championship.
There isn't really many other people, like you keep saying. A lot of people are out.
Why isn't LA Knight? He beat LA Knight for the #1 contendership. Why isn't LA Knight?
You're gonna have two faces going for the belt? What good is that?
I don't know, but AJ Styles ain't much of a heel.
He's more of a heel than LA Knight.
I'll give you that. LA Knight's way more over with the crowd.
I mean, it made sense for LA Knight when Roman Reigns, because you got face and you got heel. I mean, what positive comes out of having
Knight's a tweener. He doesn't.
No, he's a babyface.
He's a guy.
People love him.
If he did bad stuff, people would still cheer for him.
They like him, and the problem is they like Cody Rhodes, and those two together it doesn't mesh well.
So we got all these people on the roster, and nobody can hold any of the belts.
Basically,
that's the situation.
Who else is around?
Right.
That's been the problem for years.
Who else is around?
Well, they stacked Raw.
Kevin Owens is a face. Can't make him come in there.
The problem is that because it's a 3-hour show, they stack the Raw roster with anybody that could hold the belt.
But hey, quite frankly, across the company right now, who would make a good opponent for Cody Rhodes?
LA Knight.
Who?
LA Knight.
Okay, we just went over this. He can't. He's a face. Okay,
he can. You can write a story.
Kevin Owens and Randy Orton came down and celebrated with Cody Rhodes, so they're not facing him.
Well, you could turn Randy Orton pretty easily. You could turn Kevin Owens pretty easily too. But everyone likes Kevin Owens.
But who else like right there and is ready to be the #1 contender? Who?
Yeah, on the SmackDown brand, you're in a difficult position because it's the 2-hour show.
But I'm talking company wide.
Oh, company wide. Gunther could 100% go for it.
Suppose. I mean,
and he's on the heel side of things. I would take any one of the Judgment Day guys above AJ Styles.
JD McDonough's going to go for the top title.
Okay, but he's been knee deep in
I
speed.
can see a Finn Balor, Cody Rhodes.
Yes.
I mean, I can see that, and I don't think those two have really wrestled, have they? I think one of them.
He feuded with Judgment Day all last year.
Oh, when he came back, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, again, it's the fact that they've drafted themselves into a corner. You know, that's really what they've done to themselves.
You gotta understand, we're through this.
Solo Sikoa, I'd take him over AJ Styles.
Oh yeah, Tama Tonga's there now.
We're through this,
he's too new.
We're through this 1 month period of there's really no. So really, this AJ Styles versus Cody Rhodes. When's the next pay-per-view?
But you can have Solo Sikoa come back and try to get
Saudi.
vengeance.
Saudi next month.
These two are wrestling. I saw it.
That's the next show is Saudi.
Oh, okay. So they gotta go a whole month with this storyline.
It's a King and Queen of the Ring or something.
Yeah, King and Queen of the Ring, yeah. So it's like, I don't know. You're right, it's not the best situation.
Isn't Roman Reigns supposed to be back for that one?
Yeah, I don't know why Braun Strowman's still out. He's been out for a long time.
They've been saying Roman Reigns is going to be out for a while, but he'll be back for the Saudi show.
Yeah, I don't see why not. He was spotted at Disneyland, Disney World. this week, so he's living his best life, as it were.
I'm very curious. This is not to get. I mean, I guess it's not. It's part of this topic. I'm very curious to find out where they're going with the whole bloodline storyline. They're definitely going for a Civil War aspect.
Yeah, I think it's gonna get quiet for a little while, and then SummerSlam it'll wake
Jay
back up.
and Jimmy on one side, and Roman maybe.
You know, they're doing some funny stuff with Solo Sikoa.
No, yeah, it's going to be Solo and Tama, probably.
Yeah,
And then the other one that's coming back, the other brother's coming back. They signed him. They haven't debuted him.
Yeah,
yet.
they haven't done anything with him yet.
But he's another one to throw in there. So you're looking at 3 and 3. You throw in the Rock, there's 4. There's
they'll do a
7 of them.
bloodline Civil War type angle for sure. Yeah.
Rikishi could be throwing him in the mix somehow there.
Rikishi can't wrestle.
He can't wrestle, but he can be involved in the story.
He can be ringside,
Yeah.
maybe.
Street Profits are #1 contenders for the tag titles.
After losing all the time.
Which again, I mean, how many non-Franken teams do you have? Street Profits are really your only option when you look at everybody else that they were up against during that match. And I guess the last real note of the shakeups is Tiffany Stratton is getting a really big push.
Is she on the main roster or
now.
is she still NXT?
No, she's on the main roster.
She is.
She's getting a big push, which again shows you have all this talent that's on this roster, so much so that you're like, hey, let's add a couple of mid-level titles, and yet why are we having to bring Tiffany Stratton up?
Why is Becky getting the belt?
Again, there's a million things to say about it. So I don't know. There's a lot going on. We'll see what happens with the draft. Are you raising your
raising
roof?
the roof?
I want to bring something up. Please, can I talk?
What do you want to bring up?
Just a quick note. Have you seen the new tag titles?
Yeah.
Very nice.
They look like the old Attitude.
They look
era
like the
belts.
90s. Yeah.
I like that one, and I like the new one that the Miz and R-Truth have. Those ones aren't bad
Yeah.
either.
Aren't they very similar?
Well,
No.
they kind of have that.
The Raw belts look like the world title.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
WWE in the middle.
Yeah,
I mean, they're very nice. I like this whole new Triple H changing it up.
Mm-hmm.
He's really. When I saw those belts for Austin Theory and what's the other guy's name?
Grayson Waller.
Yes, Waller. I'm like
A-Town Down.
Under.
Down Under.
Come on, Jeremy.
A-Town Down Under.
Those belts look just like they're. I mean, I'm really liking some of the changes to these belts. I mean, I think it's.
Have you seen the belts?
Yeah.
And what do you think?
They look great.
Which one do you like more?
I like the Raw one better.
With the
The what?
W?
With the world, yeah.
With the world?
We gotta get some new belts up into this joint.
No, start buying them.
Yeah,
You're the
we
one
need
with the
some more
money.
subscribers so that we can finance it.
We need to get the. We gotta get. I mean, if we had to get one more belt, it would have to be the new world heavyweight. That baby's got to be in here somewhere. That new world heavyweight belt.
You like it, huh?
What?
You like it, huh?
I like it. Why not?
I think it's decent.
I like it.
What
better
belt would
than
you get next?
Those designs.
Like for my own personal benefit,
The AEW World Championship.
I like the Intercontinental Championship. I like the USA. I get the USA Championship. That's probably my favorite championship.
You would like
no,
the
I don't like
mid card
that one.
belt over the world heavyweight ones.
You know what? I haven't seen the WWE Speed Belt yet, so I don't know what that one looks like. I could like that one more.
I'm gonna get you the old TNA Jeff Hardy belt.
Oh no!
To
shoot me
be
in the
fair,
head.
you know, we really should have other belts outside of WWE, so it would make sense. Can you buy AEW belts?
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
They have them for sale.
You can buy Impact belts or TNA belts. I like the new TNA belts, the X Division belt especially.
We really
Very
like
cool.
the AEW World belt. We should have in here.
This is
Yeah.
probably the best belt time. There really aren't any belts that I'm just like gagging on. And JPW has.
That's
that
what we
belt.
need.
The
right
IWGP, yeah.
That Mike was like, you need to put something in here. Like, I agree. We don't have enough stuff.
We should find
have
that guy
all championships
with
right
that
here.
belt collection. We should find that guy with the belt collection and take a field trip. I don't know where he lives. It could be really far away. There's a dude that has like hundreds and hundreds of belts.
They're probably fake.
WWE belts.
You should get a bunch of
He
the.
has like this basement museum with like hundreds of belts in it.
You should get a bunch of the toy belts to put in front.
We have a bunch of those in the back.
Yeah, it's
The
lame.
toy, the little rubber ones you buy.
All
If
right.
they're not
for the rest.
replicas, they're not good.
A-Tan Dan, let's talk about Dynasty. Let's move on to Dynasty.
Okay.
I just
He
want to say
has
Dynasty.
Drew McIntyre's voice in him right now. He's like all excited.
That's Australian, not Scottish.
Oh, it is?
A-Town Down. I was doing A-Town Down Under.
Grayson Waller,
Grayson
Australian.
Waller
Oh,
from
okay.
Australia. Dan Ender.
You just got demonetized
Yeah,
right there.
that's it. There's the end of it.
All right, yeah, Dynasty was last weekend. Pretty good show. You saw it. Did you see it?
Bits and pieces.
Bits and pieces.
I thought it was a great show.
I thought it was very good. Yeah, I didn't have very high expectations. Probably the most amazing thing that happened, though, is for the third show in a row, Our predictions ended in a 3-way tie. So we're getting good with our predictions, apparently.
7 out of 10, right?
7 out of 10 for each of us, yep.
And it was funny. The only thing that we uniformly screwed up on,
the TBS.
Across the board, we were convinced that Julia Hart was going to retain the belt, and they gave it to Willow.
Turns out, yeah, Julia
Julia's
Hart is
injured.
legitimately injured, but she was well enough to wrestle. But yeah, they gave
Obviously,
the belt to
if
Willow.
we knew that, we wouldn't have made that pick.
Yep.
But other than that, though, it was pretty well split. I mean,
and Dan guessed right that Jericho is the new FTW champion. What the fuck? That's the most disappointing prediction of the night.
probably the worst match.
I know how to map them out. They need something to do with Jericho right now.
So, what was the match of the show? What was the best match of the show?
Oh, I think
Don't say it. If you say it, I'm going to freak if you say it.
All right, you say it.
He's going to say it. It's the Danielson match.
Yeah.
It's
End
Ospreay
the
Danielson.
show. I'm leaving. I'm done.
It was a 34-minute barn burner.
The worst part, though, was the ending.
I tweeted, and this actually happened. You didn't watch the match. This actually happened. The crowd ran out of chants. They literally ran out of things to say. I've never seen anything like it before, but about 25, 30 minutes into the match, it was towards the end, it was like split. The crowd like didn't know what to say next, but they wanted to say something. What?
What are you waving at?
They already said everything. They already said, holy shit. They already said AEW. I think they had a This Is Awesome chant.
Fight forever.
Fight forever. Yep. They had run through the entire game.
They had This Is Awesome before they even touched.
Yeah, I think it was like during the entrances they did it. This Is Awesome. And they sold it like it was Rock v. Hogan. There was walk-arounds, and it told a great story. It was the match of the night. I will hear no argument.
But I was not. I've seen some people liked it. I was not a fan of the ending of that match.
Yeah, I don't know why they did it that way.
Ospreay drops Danielson on his head with a Tiger Driver.
Kind of.
Was it on purpose or not?
It was.
It's a work.
Right. It's a work, but it looked pretty sketchy, and with Danielson's history of injuries. But the crowd was convinced that Bryan was actually hurt, so while Ospreay is celebrating, they're not cheering, so it kind of took away from the win, I thought. But
it definitely, yeah.
Up until the very ending, that was a fantastic match.
He didn't pay for it at all. He came out in the gauntlet match. He won the gauntlet match, so now he's going to go against Roderick Strong. So, and the crowd loved him. He didn't pay for it at all. So they did it the right way. I mean, if you wanted to make Danielson look injured without, taking the shine off Ospreay, I mean, you did it right.
Couple other takeaways. Swerve won the World Championship.
Whose house?
Swerve's
now
house.
It is officially.
I'm not understanding this storyline. I'm interested to see if he can carry the weight of AEW on his shoulders.
Well, see,
he can.
I was watching Dynamite this week, and he was in the curtain jerk. And Jon Moxley with the New Japan title was in the main event, so that kind of...
For no reason at all, they just had him come out and take on the FTW. Was it the FTW?
No, it was Kyle Fletcher. He's the Ring of Honor television champion.
Ring of Honor. For some reason, they had Kyle Fletcher come out for no reason, no story, no nothing. A lot of people
It was an eliminator match. If Fletcher won, he would get a world title shot. And the whole story is Don Callis is getting all these great matches for his faction.
People thought that Tony Khan was taking the shine off Swerve by having him do that.
That's how I felt, because putting another
company's I'm gonna crown a new champion, then take the spotlight off of him.
Exactly. That's kind of what he thought. Again, I'm becoming more patient because I'm starting to get the feeling that they're kind of setting up dominoes that will make sense in a couple of weeks or maybe even a month or more down the road. We're going to look back and go, oh, that's why they had Swerve v. Fletcher. But right now it doesn't make any sense because it's too early in the story to understand. Again, kind of like this Jungle Boy thing. Why the heck would you show that tape of, oh, well, we wanted to remind everybody of what's going on so that when Jungle Boy does come back,
right?
There's a little bit more behind it. So who knows? It might make sense. That is kind of like a booking no-no, though. You don't have your champion come back and... a lot of people were like, oh, he should come out and do a promo and we should hear him talk and stuff. That's more classical style.
Especially if you're doing an IWGP championship match in the main event. Have your champion, don't have him in a match in the curtain jerk.
But I'm willing to be a little more patient now after seeing what's happened with Jack Perry. So That's just my 2 cents.
So overall, what would you rate the show?
Out of what, 5 stars?
Yeah.
I'd give it 4 out of 5. I thought it was a very good show. Yeah. I mean, there were no garbage matches.
0 negative stars.
I want to give it a 0 based off the fact you guys want to.
There were
say Daniel Bryanson was the best.
There were no throwaway. What match was better? I mean, you had your surprise with the return of Jack Perry. You had a great match between Swerve and Samoa. A lot of respect for Samoa Joe. I mean, he's 46 years old. He held on to that title. He made it look good. Didn't take the shine off of it at all coming off of MJF. He held it together.
Yeah, we predicted he would be a transitional champion. And
he held on to it for a few months. He did his job. They made Swerve look great. I mean, I can't see a lot of... The Acclaimed and Bullet Club match wasn't great, but that was at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
So.
And Bullet Club's now the Unified Trios champions.
I mean, the House of Black match was great. Julia Hart's injured, so she had to give it up.
And that was the shortest match of the night.
And that was like a 6-minute match, So, I don't know. Champions. Roderick Strong looked good. Jericho Hook was the worst match of the night. I thought it was good.
All right, let's talk about the draft then. This is our main event here. So this week, not the NFL draft. I don't care about that. We're talking WWE. So what do we think? What's going to happen here? Who's going where? What's going to be the fallout? What are we thinking?
Last year, at this time, let's think back 1 year, we had multiple shows were dedicated towards bitching about the draft, basically. My first rant was about the draft, and your biggest complaint was that there were no commissioners. Who is making these decisions?
Authority figures.
Who pulls the lines and controls everything? Well, we have that now. What are you most looking forward to in the draft?
I wouldn't say that I'm looking forward to anything. I would say
they protect the champions. The champions can't move.
Oh, they specifically said that?
And there's nobody injured except for the women's tag. Women's tag can't be moved. The rest of them are protected. Excuse me. Oh, crap. What was I going to say?
No one injured can be drafted.
No one injured can be drafted.
So, I mean, I guess like it's kind of an underwhelming draft because there's no one who's like the top guy to get drafted right now.
I guess
is Roman Reigns in it?
Judgment Day. No, he's out.
No, he is.
He's on the list?
Yeah, he's in contention. I saw him in one of the pictures.
Okay.
He's not injured.
They haven't released a list.
He's not injured, so
they haven't released a list. They just released like a picture. So
it's kind of like I don't know, through. Like where I don't know. I just it's tough. Because
they also don't tell you who's going to get drafted as a group. Like.
Until it happens.
Like, is it like...
Yeah, that's been a complaint in the past where they draft, think of a group. So the Bloodline, they'll draft Jimmy, and then they'll draft Jay, and then they'll draft Roman and Paul Heyman or whatever, instead of just drafting the whole group.
That's weird. That's not so bad, but I'm thinking more like picks like Alpha Academy. So are you going to draft Alpha Academy altogether, or with what's going on with Chad Gable right now, are you going to keep Chad Gable and you're going to draft Alpha Academy everywhere else, or are you going to chew up 3 draft picks on Otis and Akira Tozawa?
That's what doesn't make sense, right?
It doesn't. So you have to I guess that would help a lot. I think if you said, hey, these are the groups that are going to get drafted. These are the tag teams. The Pretty Deadly are going to be drafted together. Okay, fine. That makes sense to me. They're one of the few non-Franken teams. Okay, great. DIY. What do you do with them? Because they've been working as DIY lately, but then you got Gargano and Ciampa working separately. Gargano's been on speed, and he's about to make the final. So what do you do there? Like they have like 5 rules for the whole draft. It's like we need a little more structure than that.
Again, that's been the complaints in the past. They waste 2 picks on a tag team instead of drafting them together. It's just it depends on however WWE.
I think you're gonna see Gunther go to SmackDown, so he could be up against Cody Rhodes. Which, by the way, I pulled up. I'm looking at WWE.com because I want to see if they had a graphic. So the next pay-per-view is Backlash in May 4th in France. So that's real. So like Like Jay versus Damian Priest, that's not going anywhere. That's the main event with the World Heavyweight, and you have Cody Rhodes and AJ Styles. These are just feeder matches right now. They don't care. And then by May 4th, when the pay-per-view is May 4th, right after that, they're going to go to their shows and we'll have new people on the shows to contend for the belts. And I bet you Gunther is on SmackDown for Cody Rhodes. Would not shock me. They can get a good 4 months out of that, 4 or 5 months out of that storyline. You know, they can go.
Is
back.
AJ Styles on that list to be drafted?
I got to imagine. I can't find.
So is SmackDown going to waste a pick on him? Because on May 4th, he's supposed to go up against Cody Rhodes.
They'll say that's just those are the matches that are scheduled right now, and then.
Oh, so we think they're going to put somebody in a week before the pay-per-view?
No, they've done that before too. Someone gets drafted to the other show, but they already have this match scheduled, so they have that match, and then they go to their show. So you know who's going to win.
They've done that.
Oh, right. AJ Styles is going to win the belt and then take it off to Raw with him.
Well, no, I think if he wins the belt, one would say he now stays on SmackDown and maybe Cody Rhodes goes to Raw.
No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't do that.
Well,
you would have to have Cody dropped. In either one of those situations, Cody drops the belt. Is that going to happen?
No.
Exactly. So yeah, it's kind of like you walk this line between I give a shit and I don't give a shit. It's significant.
I think it's a lack. I think there's just a lot of. I'm not. This isn't hyped. I don't know who's in the draft that's exciting right now.
Well, didn't they only announce the draft like 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
And they don't, because they know they can only get certain mileage out of the draft itself, and that the mileage and the excitement that they get out of that draft is less than the picks that they have. It's like, okay, we're going to do 4 rounds on SmackDown, we're going to do 6 rounds, and it's like, okay, what do you do with the pile of people you have left? Because you can only pick one person at a time. So it's a 3-hour show, you're stacking it, and you're only making 12 picks or whatever. It's like, what do you do with everybody else? Oh, I don't know. I guess I really don't care where Akira Tozawa goes, and we're not going to give them any face time. Okay, fine. So, where's Damage Control going to go? I don't know. You know, it's like they do it, but they don't actually do it.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something about this draft. It isn't exciting. And you're right. Last year we talked about the fact that the draft made no sense with no authority figures. So they at least got that right. We've talked about this the last couple of weeks. You can clearly see that Triple H is implementing what he wants for creative and what he wants, and he obviously believes in the 2-show format. And belts on each show and authority figures on each show. And you got to have an authority figure. We said this for a long time. Mm-hmm. This is the first thing that they've done to try to legitimize the draft.
Oh, I read a rumor today that Baron Corbin's going back.
Oh, I read that.
Yeah, I don't think it's a rumor. I think it's legit.
So now that means you're going to waste a pick on Baron Corbin to pull Baron Corbin back up from NXT.
Well, yeah, weren't they just NXT champs or something? Tag champs, wasn't he?
I think he had the tag belt, yeah.
So that's something in kayfabe in his favor.
No. I'm not saying Baron Corbin doesn't deserve. I mean, he's held his own mid card and even a little bit at the top of the card, on the main roster. But it's like, that's a pick, and you only get 6. So why should I care about this if... You know what I'm saying? It's like the roster's getting too big, in my opinion. That's something you've been saying over and over and over again. But the roster's just getting... It's too big for a draft, at least. If you're going to shake it up, then you need to only announce the people that are valid for the draft that can be drafted. Don't just be like, everybody and their sister can be drafted, but we're only going to pick 5 people. But here's our pool of 50. It's going to be like, okay, so are you going to waste a draft on... whoever.
Natalia to NXT.
Exactly. Like, who cares, right? When she can just appear at NXT without a draft happening.
Right. That's the biggest thing, is they don't stick to it, so what's the point?
They did a decent job this year. People moved in and out of NXT. Okay, NXT's kind of a playground or whatever. It's a sandbox a little bit. I give them a little bit of a pass for that. But they did a decent job sticking with the rosters. I mean, were there any big changes or screw-ups throughout the year? Exactly. The fact that you can't think of one tells you.
No, I don't watch it, so I don't know.
So there's. Okay, do you remember any big roster screw ups that they didn't stick to? Because I don't think their Imperium's been there all year. Judgment Day's been on
Are
Raw
you talking
all year.
within the
Bloodline.
last year?
Since the last
Or-
draft.
Oh,
Since the
no,
last
I
draft.
mean,
They've
I
pretty much
just-
stuck to it.
Yeah.
There hasn't been a lot of movement around. So
Okay. Comment below if that's wrong.
it's not. But you should still comment anyways.
And if you're there to comment, why don't you like and subscribe to our channels? We've got the new Wrestling with the Business channel, which this video will be going up on. So definitely subscribe to that. Get our views up.
Wait a minute.
Uh-oh.
Gauntlet. So what's the gauntlet? What are we doing for the gauntlet?
Oh, we're deciding that now?
Well, now that there's hope that somebody else besides Matt could potentially win something, I feel like we need to put something.
Oh, there's a new champion in the house.
Didn't Dan win the first one? Or one of the first ones?
Matt, I'm pretty sure Matt has won them all.
No, I think he's right.
I think I did name one. I did have one to name before. I think I had him.
I think you're the only one who hasn't won one.
And I think that streak will continue for a long time. I'll stay in the mid card range, as long as I don't get my shit kicked in. Okay?
I got one.
As long as it's like, oh, okay, he was 2 or 3 less, I'm okay with that. But I don't want to be like, I get 2 and y'all get 15. That's a problem.
Coming off of the heels of our conversation just now of authority figures, name as many WWE authority figures as you can.
Okay.
Okay.
That'll be good. Let's definitely tune in for those.
It was the first one confirmed. Dan had 11 WWE champions.
Yeah, that's what I thought, yeah.
To Matt's, how many?
8.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
He blew your doors in.
And you got 7, Jeremy.
Almost. I'm okay with doing the old Fast and Furious, but I almost got you. I'm okay with that. As long
On
as I can
that
say I
note-
almost got you.
You keep watching, we'll keep wrestling with the business.